You are now listening to Comp Corner, brought to you by the law offices of Bradford and Barthel.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Comp Corner. I'm your host, Nasir F. Adil, with the law offices of Bradford and Barthel. Welcome, workers' compensation friends, adjusters, attorneys, judges, families, pets, and really anyone and everyone. We are very happy to have you listen in. Here on Comp Corner, we discuss workers' compensation topics with guests, and along the way, we like to sprinkle in topics related to pop culture, sports, comedy, and really whatever you, the listener, want to talk about. Speaking of, please be sure to email your comp and or pod related questions directly to compcorner@bradfordbarthel.com. Again, that's compcorner@bradfordbarthel.com. It's always awesome to get your questions and updates. A big thank you for the dozens of questions and emails we received following our initial podcast episode, which premiered on February 4th. Whenever your question or email is read on an episode of Comp Corner, our client relations team here at Bradford and Barthel is going to send you over some swag and merchandise as a thank you for taking the time and participating. A little later in the podcast, I'm going to answer a question that was recently submitted to compcorner@bradfordbarthel.com from friend of the firm and claims examiner, Roxanne. Roxanne, thank you in advance, and we're going to answer your question towards the end of the episode. On today's episode, we're joined by founding partners of the firm, Tom Bradford and Don Barthel. Tom and Don started the firm in 1997. We discussed their vision and purpose behind creating their own firm, which was focused around client service. Almost 30 years later, much has changed for the firm and the workers' compensation industry as a whole. But one thing has remained the same. That's their passion and drive for promoting client service. We also delve into the future of workers' compensation, among a few other funny and hopefully what you will find as interesting topics. Towards the end of our conversation, we get to know Tom and Don a little better and pick their brains with a round of 5 and 5 questions. Now, on to our guests. Hello, and big thank you to Tom Bradford and Don Barthel, founding partners, for joining us on Comp Corner. How are you two gentlemen doing?
Very well, thank you.
Doing great, thanks.
Awesome. So, Tom and Don, when did you both meet each other? Tom.
Oh my gosh, it would have been at a prior firm, 1996, I think it was 95 or 96, something like that. We opened up Bradford and Barthel in January of 1997.
Gotcha. And Don, how exactly did you both meet around that time in the mid to late 90s?
Well, I lived down in Southern California, as did Tom, and we met a mutual client. Now, the 57 freeway goes north and south, and sort of divided the area that Tom was on in the east and the west where I was living. And this mutual client, would send all her files towards the ocean to me, and all those east of the 57 to Tom. And of course, I found that unacceptable. I wanted all of her files.
It's
Go ahead. Yeah.
What's interesting is that means that I got 5% of her files and you got 95% files.
At $20 is $20. Actually, I asked her once, and she said, "Well, you both do something that I really like. When I send a file to an attorney and there's a problem with it, far too often the response is, we have a problem here." And she said, "Well, when I send a file out, it's because I know there's a problem. And the two of you will come up with possibility here, possibility there, possibility to do this, that, and the other thing. If you've got cards to play, if you don't have cards to play, you make those cards. And I think Tom's always done that, and I've always tried to do that.
No, absolutely. I think even, 35 or, almost 30 years later now, it still resonates. When a file comes in, it's because there's action that needs to be performed, right? An adjuster needs action to be taken by a defense attorney. And as we tell our attorneys, hey, look, if you had your own litigation going on, whether it's divorce, criminal, whatever, God forbid, wouldn't you want your attorney to contact you ASAP? So like you said, it's all about getting back to the clients, being responsive, and really making sure that they know that we have plan of actions ready to go. Now, sorry, go ahead.
Our goal is to be service oriented.
Yeah.
And if we're not responding quickly, if we don't have a plan of action, if we don't find difficult cases challenging, then we're not doing our job anyway. So what we've got to do is provide the best service, the best handling, and hopefully close files as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
And we have to enjoy it. If we're not having fun, we need to get into a different business. I know Tom has a great time with large loss cases. I personally love doctor depositions, and again, if we got to be eager to jump in and have no fear. I think oftentimes attorneys are fearful, and I like to remind them the rules against them killing us. We're not allowed to be killed, so we can go safely into the night.
Well, otherwise it would be a dead giveaway.
Put it on plum.
So, Don, in the industry, you're known for having a pretty aggressive style through the years with taking doctor depositions. You also spearheaded the start of the permanent disability ratings group that we have here at the firm. Can you tell us a safe, let's say PG-13 enough story? What's a funny story that you have from a doctor depo over the years?
Oh, yeah, I can actually go rated G. I always insist on subpoenaing the doctor's file before I take their deposition because, to quote my at that time 7-year-old son, you never know what's in there. And the truth of the matter is, I've always found something worthwhile. In this one particular doctor's file in Santa Rosa, I got to take his deposition. I said, "Doctor, I'm going to swear you in." Swore him in. "Now, doctor, I'd like you to take a look at these materials before we start asking questions." The doctor took a look at it, and I can tell you the footnote or the punchline. They were bills that demonstrated, one, that the doctor was treating the applicant; two, the doctor was charging or billing my client; and three, the doctor was also billing the federal government. Now, technically speaking, that's called a no-no. So he read the materials. He took a look at me and said, "Where did you get this?" I checked the court reporter, and she was writing that down. I said, "Oh, I got that in your subpoenaed file." He said, and I quote, "That's not supposed to be in there."
Yeah.
I stipulate, doctor.
Court reporters typing everything down.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Fraud is proven on the spot, I guess, right? Sheesh. Now, 30 plus years later, what are you the most proud of with regards to the firm? Tom?
Well, again, I think that what we're doing, servicing the whole state, the way we are interacting with clients, we're certainly not perfect, but we do everything we can to be the best possible firm that we can.
Sure.
And I think we've proven that through the years. The service is there. The growth has been there. Another thing that's kind of fun is Don is the only non-physician on the AMA guides. And that's something that's interesting. He is on the 6th edition. Nobody else in the work comp industry, really in the country, has been able to be on the AMA guides as a participant and author.
Wow.
And I think that's something that's incredible for this firm.
Wow.
And they spelled my name right, which is quite a significant issue. In fact, it's been an issue for many, many, many years. Everybody pronounces and spells Bradford right, of course, but nobody gets Barthel. We once got a letter addressed to the law offices of Bradford and Barthel. And while we are a full-service firm, I'm told that's a little too full service.
Yeah, it's Barthel for everyone, not the other way of spelling it.
Correct.
Well, and of course, at that time, we were a young firm just trying to get over the hump.
Yeah. Insert bump now. All right. Now, Don, what are you the most proud of looking back about 30 years later?
Tom spoke about what we've been able to do with the clients and for the clients, and I think that's Definitely a sign that the clients believe that we do a good job for them, both in terms of saving money, being expeditious, being
Yeah.
economical, etc., by getting what they're really looking for. But I also like to look internally. We've grown exponentially in terms of employees and partners, and that I think most everybody is very happy as an employee, as a part of the B&B team. We all work far too many hours
Yeah.
to not enjoy where we're at. Whenever I talk to one of the new attorneys, and I try to call everyone is within a week or two of their starting with the firm, I do point that out. We really appreciate you joining us. We want you to work very hard. We want you to make the clients happy. We want to aggressively represent their interest. We also want you to keep your mental and physical health in mind, and take care of that very important balance.
Yeah, it's funny. For those who do not work for the firm, whenever an attorney starts here at Bradford and Barthel, including when I started 15 years ago, you get a call from Don, usually within, I'd say, 2 or 3 days of start. Each time you're like, Don, why is Don Barthel calling me? Am I in trouble already? I just signed my HR paperwork like 2 hours ago. But that's to Don's credit. It's, hey, he wants to welcome you to the firm, welcome you a part of the team. And, the now current 120 plus attorneys, I can guarantee you each and every one of us got a call from Don within a couple of days of us starting. Another thing that, to Tom and Don's point about client service, I don't think you can find two other named partners of any firm around that are as easily accessible and readily available as Tom and Don. They're usually responding to emails within a couple minutes of being received. I think that's something that we really preach and promote here on a constant basis. Now, a quick word from client relations. Tammy, take it away.
Have you ever had the pleasure of reading one or more of the hundreds of newsletter articles found in the B&B blog? If not, you are missing out on a tremendous tool. Every week, our attorneys demonstrate their special insights into the defense of workers' compensation matters. Individual articles are available on our B&B blog page at bradfordbarthel.com, where you can also sign up to automatically receive new articles and upcoming webinar information.
So, Tom and Don, what were some of the factors that led you to start Bradford and Barthel?
We were with another firm at the time, and neither one of us was satisfied with the direction of the firm, the responsiveness of the firm, really the whole way the firm was going. We were a relatively small firm. Many weren't working, many weren't responsive, many just had other things to do. And that didn't work for either Don or myself. We thought that it was a good time to get into the market, to provide better service than certainly we had seen. And I believe we've been successful in doing that through the years. We, as you pointed out, try to immediately return calls, emails, anything there. We thought that would be something that would satisfy the market. And indeed it has.
Absolutely. In terms of satisfying the market, I think we realized that all we had to do was what we were already doing to distinguish ourselves. I don't think we've ever looked at the quote unquote competition to figure out how we need, or what moves we have to make. We've always said if we're satisfied with the product that we're producing, we should be just fine, and that's been absolutely correct.
Sure. I think that's like the ever-evolving landscape of workers' compensation. Workers' comp is not where it was last year, let alone 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago. And I mean, if you're not changing with the times, then we're really just getting left behind. So it's all about adjusting and just making those slight changes to keep up with the pace. And if you do that, then, you can foresee the issues. You could foresee where we're going. So that's a really big part of what we do. Thank you for sharing. Now, looking back, what would you have done differently with the firm? In other words, let's say we had a genie in a bottle with us today. What would be one retroactive wish that each of you would ask for? Tom?
It's funny that you mentioned that. I don't have anything in particular. It was exciting time, scary to a certain extent because of rapid growth. Just kind of held on and went with the growth. One thing I should mention, too, is the technology end. You've indicated you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. We've been ahead on the technology end for a long time. we are kind of proud of it, actually. We
Yeah.
just kind of jump ahead. We've totally paperless. There are many firms at this stage, but we're willing to embrace whatever is coming along in the way of technology, anything that can help us, but more importantly, anything that can help the client. We're willing to jump in and do.
And Tom, what do you mean specifically as for technology? Where have you seen that being implemented in the firm the last couple of years?
Oh my gosh, when Don and I started, there were paper files. At one time, I think we had 20 or 30,000 closed paper files. Those have all been either scanned and copied or destroyed. But again, we were moving ahead. We saw where that was coming. We saw that we needed a case management system. We saw that we needed an updated billing and interaction system. We were willing to take that first step. We were the first firm, defense firm, to use Fulcrum and Maris. So we were willing to take those steps, jump in and try new things that were not tried in the industry.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate it's proven successful.
When I do call our new attorneys, very often the first or second thing they mention is all the technology that makes their job easier and makes it and allows them to do a better job for the clients. They're actually coming from other firms. They're blown away at the number of tools that they have at their disposal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing, even going to the board, you don't ever see anyone carrying a physical file anymore. I remember I was never accused of having big biceps, but I think my arms have definitely taken less of a workout with being paperless, just because I don't have to lug around that old Office Depot box of mine that's carrying my 6 subpoenaed sets of volumes and records. So I think that's been a welcome change throughout the industry for sure.
I used to carry all the files under my arms, and I had everything. And of course, I got lateral epicondylitis. Then I started using a cart, so had to go forward on that one.
All right, Don, how about you? Let's say that you had a genie in a bottle and you can go back and do one thing differently when you started the firm. What would that be for you?
Well, I think if we put this to a partnership vote, it might not work out for me, but I've always thought Barthel and Associates had a nice ring to it.
There's always something to be said about the little B.
Oh, I wish my belly fit that description.
That's awesome. Thank you to friend of the firm, Roxanne, for submitting your question to Comp Corner. Roxanne's question is, I have a case with a pro-per applicant, and I want to forward the cover letter, personnel file, and some non-medical records to the PQME in advance of the medical legal evaluation. Roxanne's question is, can I send the information directly to the panel QME? Great question, Roxanne. For the answer, let's go straight to the rule that really lays out the requirement. That is California Code of Regulations, Section 35C, which states at least 20 days before the information is provided to the evaluator, the party providing such medical and non-medical reports and information shall serve it on the opposing party. Now, the key here is to note CCR 35C imposes the 20-day requirement for service of information on QMEs. The pro tip here, Roxanne, is to serve that information on the opposing party at least 20 days before it goes to the evaluator. You want to wait the 20 plus days, and absent an objection during that time frame, you can send it to your medical legal evaluator. If the 20-day requirement is not followed, then you really risk impermissible ex parte communication, and that penalty could be a replacement or a new panel. Great question. Thank you again, Roxanne, for your question. What do you do to develop strong relationships with clients and adjusters? Don, what do you do?
I hate to beat a dead horse, but constant contact. When I receive a new file, I'm following it up with a telephone call that day or the next day asking, I thank you so, or indicating I really appreciate the referral. I know that there's likely something coming up. Is there something coming up tomorrow or the next day that we need to do yesterday? And if not, How soon is the next incredibly important thing? Will I just do this at the normal speed of several days, or do I need to do it tomorrow? And either way, we're happy to provide that.
Yeah.
We also have a lot of great friends in the business. You start, of course, with being as spontaneous in response as you can, being as quick in a response as you can, being as interactive, being as proactive, always pushing a file. And you get to know people. And we've made a lot of really wonderful friends through the years. There's a lot of great people in this field.
Yeah, I think the responsiveness, it doesn't just go with our adjusters and our clients. Of course, that's, obviously first and foremost. But if you're responsive to opposing counsel, it's amazing how much more work you can get done. Because once you start to see their perspective, they also have clients, right, who are knocking on their door saying, hey, where's my case at? Where's my settlement at? So when you can keep them up to date and say, hey, look, if I don't know the answer right now, I'll follow up with you shortly. Let me ask my client. It's amazing how much more efficiently a case gets settled when you have good rapport and really build up with the trust with AAs, with lien claimants, with judges. Being responsive across the board is one of those rules that you really can't go wrong on, really can't mess up. If you are responsive, you're going to be successful, that's for sure.
What was the name of that book? Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Treat other people nicely.
Yeah. Rule number 1 in comp, first day, open up that book. It should say, rule number 1, be responsive. No one's going to ever complain about you being too responsive.
Correct.
Now, Tom, what's the craziest thing you've ever heard a judge say in a courtroom?
I can't say it on the record. Some things you just don't want to repeat. There used to be a judge that used to be absolutely toasted down in Long Beach every day by noon. Oh, man. You know who he is?
Oh, I do, because that's my story.
My gosh, he came up with some crazy stuff. Let me punt to you, Don. I think we're talking about the same judge.
This was not a rumor. I actually watched him drink his lunch on more than one occasion.
Truth is a defense. Truth is a defense.
Absolutely.
Right?
And we had a pro per. Applicant's counsel had agreed it was $1,000. I had agreed it was $1,000, but she wanted her day in court, and this judge said, "Okay, then she'll have her day in court." He swore her in and looked at the applicant's counsel. "You don't have any questions, do you?" Of course, the applicant's counsel just shook his head, and then he looked at me, and I was a little bit behind the ear, and of course, I shook him off too. "Absolutely not, Your Honor." We asked her, what's wrong with you? And that's almost verbatim. And this is through interpreter, but I really wasn't listening. Nobody was. So I just heard blah, 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 blah. He says, "Anything else?" Blah, 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 blah. "Okay, case submitted." Wait. What? And the reason I have all this pain is the insurance company wouldn't let me go to a chiropractor. Quote, "Consider yourself lucky." That's off the record. Case submitted.
Great story. For our national audience, how is California workers' compensation different than other jurisdictions?
Every state is different. It's very interesting to look at the other rules, but we really don't do other states. But man, when I've looked at them, when I've discussed situation with other clients, it's amazing. There's different rules. And California, to a certain extent, of course, cut way down on costs under Schwarzenegger. Things were going totally out of control. And now we have better rules designed to keep medical costs in line. And I think it's been beneficial. It's kept a lot of carriers solvent.
Sure.
I'm not big into reading, particularly labor code, because there's a lot of big words and not really any pictures. But if you take a look at the labor code in Nevada, it's about a quarter to a half an inch thick. If you compare that to the California labor code, it's extraordinary. So I think that just underscores how different they really can be.
Awesome. Now, a question for Tom. How cool is it to work with your son, Alec, who is the managing attorney of our San Diego office?
It's impressive. He at first, when he went to undergraduate school, wanted to get into engineering. Then he wanted to program. And then he discovered beer and girls. And then he went into political science. And if you get a degree in political science, you get a degree in law. So that's how he got into the law field. And he's done very well with it. It's been a very successful transition. But he actually had no intention initially of doing that.
Gotcha. Now, Don, how would you rate the current health of the workers' compensation industry overall?
I think we've done better and better and better. I remember the bad old days when we had the competing QMEs. You Applicants Council would get a QME that said that the applicant was dead. I would get a QME that said they haven't even had a paper cut. We went down to the board. We arm wrestled and came up with some kind of resolution as between us that made absolutely nobody happy. Now we've got SB 899. And also we had they could be 100% even if there were no objective findings. If it was purely based on subjectives, the doctor was convinced that they had 100% constant severe pain in the spine. That was 100%. Now we've got some things that are far, far more objective. We've got the UR. We've got the AMA guides. We've got a TD cap. We've done away with, for all practical purposes, vocational rehabilitation, which, by the way, was a great idea on paper. Voc rehab, I think, is just a wonderful, wonderful idea. If somebody's working, you've injured them, they can't work now, you make them all better, at least in terms of work, so they can become good tax-paying citizens again. Too bad it never worked.
Right.
Well, initially, too, you could have 40 years of rehabilitation as a 20-year-old. I mean, the rules were just absolutely ridiculous. Well, we should bounce back to UR as part of the changes in the comp system to control medical costs. A lot of the monoline carriers in the 90s went out of business. They just no longer exist. In order to keep the system functioning and solvent, we utilize the AMA guides, we utilize UR. It's really changed the system. Applicant side isn't always happy with the way that things have gone, but obviously they've adjusted and they're doing their best going forward as well.
Speaking of the applicants' attorneys not liking what's going on, April 1 of 2005, we started using the new apportionment laws, 4663, 4664. And I remember at a call convention, the applicants' attorneys, probably 800 to 1,000 of them, standing up and saying, almost screaming, apportionment is discrimination. Apportionment is discrimination. I'm not quite sure what that meant, but I can tell you that prior to that time, we did have apportionment statutes, but it didn't matter because we never got apportionment. Now with the changes, we pay for what we broke and no more.
Well, I went to a lot of California Applicants Attorneys Association meetings after that, and for the next 10 years, all the meetings were dedicated to talking about how unfair the system is instead of saying how they're going to change and do things differently. Now they do that, of course, but man, it was really odd. Stop crying, start practicing.
Absolutely. I think that's where Labor Code sections 4663 and 4664, including the different decisions, Escobedo, really are the guiding path for us to all follow nowadays with apportionment. Thank you all. Lastly here, one thing we want to ask all of our guests here on workers' compensation, since most of us are currently in the comp game, we know where we've been, we know where we are. My question is, where do you both think California workers' compensation will be in the next 25 years? Let's say around the year 2050. Where will we be? Tom?
Well, can we do 2025 in about a week and a half from now? I say that because with AI, things are changing virtually overnight. We've already got legislation aimed at workers' compensation and medicine in general based as a result of AI. That is, final medical decisions are not allowed to be based on AI. We can use it preliminarily, but you still have to have a physician making the final decision. So I would say we're already behind the eight ball on that. I'm hopeful that AI and its ilk are going to permit the adjuster to spend less time on the ticky-tack. Do I owe them $282.23 or $282.24, and more on more of the hand-holding and getting the applicants through what can be a very complicated system. Remember, this is a system that is not supposed to involve attorneys, but oftentimes simply has to. If we can get the adjusters to help the applicant wind through that system, I think it's going to produce a psychiatric benefit and certainly a financial benefit to all involved.
My answer is the speed of technology and changes. Don touched base with AI, but we don't know what's coming next.
Yeah.
The latest Chinese version to come out with the AI is totally challenged prior AI that we had here in the U.S. What's going to happen next? How inexpensive will it get? How accurate will it be? But more importantly, if you're getting something, what's it called, shadows or something, where they write something that doesn't exist. They quote case law that doesn't exist.
Hallucinations.
Yeah, hallucinations. Sorry about that. So that means that you still need involvement. You still need active involvement to go forward. But that's just the tip of technology.
Yeah.
From 10 years ago till now, we've gotten rid of all the paper files. Now we're all paperless. Where is it going in the future? That's a great question. Don't have an answer, because just in the time I've been doing it, which is longer than there's been dirt, I guess. I'm an old dude. But as long as it's been going on, changes occur all the time, and you don't know where it's coming. There's three major groups that are involved: carriers, employers, and the applicant's attorneys. And generally, when 2 out of the 3 get together, there will be legislative changes, and you don't necessarily know where they're coming from. The 2005 changes were a combination of the employers and the carriers getting together and instituting changes with the Schwarzenegger administration. But what 2 or 3 groups will get together for other changes down the road, it's hard to say.
Yeah, the question as to where we're headed with AI as an industry, let alone as a society, that's unknown. But what we all do know is that it certainly will not be boring.
What's the curse? May you live in interesting times. We're definitely living in interesting times.
Here on Comp Corner, we want the audience to get to know our guests a little better. We'll have 5-ish questions in 5-ish minutes. Let's jump on into the 5 in 5 segment, a little palate cleanser of sorts. As a pet, Tom and Don, who do you prefer, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. Got to be a dog.
The huggers.
Yeah, there's no anti-cat sentiment here, everyone.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm a dog lover. I used to be scared of dogs. I got chased as a child, and culturally we didn't have them. But my older daughter, who's 14 now, when she was 8, believe it or not, she saved up $400 of her own money just to get a dog. So I think it's funny. My wife and I turned to each other. We said, look, if our 8-year-old is saving up $400, we got to get her a dog. And I was reluctant, but oh my God, I carry my dog around the house now like she's my 3rd baby. So I'm super happy I got a dog after all.
You know, it's funny. I didn't grow up with dogs, didn't particularly care about dogs, but my wife made it really clear. If we were going to get married, we were going to have dogs. And we've been married almost 52 years, and we've had dogs almost 52 years. So
there we go.
We had cats for a while too. So
I'm 62, and I've had a dog since I was 4 years old. We lost, sadly, our pride and joy when I was about 12 years old. We were actually camping by the Silver Bear dunes up in Michigan, and we went up the dunes and couldn't find her, went down the dunes and couldn't find her. We were really just distraught, and then we went back to the camper, opened it up, and guess who was in there?
What is your ideal vacation spot? A beach trip or a ski trip?
Tommy?
Oh, I do both. So I love skiing, although I'm getting old for that. Love the beach too. Can't beat it. Alec, my son, who manages San Diego office, surfs 5 days a week.
Nice.
So he'd definitely say beach.
Yeah, bad neck, bad hips, bad knees. I don't think that's not the best situation for skiing. So I got to go with that beach.
You know, it's funny. They used to do old age discounts when he hit 60. So I had 59, and then they made it 65. And then I hit 64, and they made it 70. And then I hit 69, and they made it 75. So I don't think I'm ever going to catch up with the discount.
Yeah, I think MSAs are going to be like 80 years old now in a couple of years. So yeah, you're along those lines relating back to comp. We'll let you go to Don first this time. What's your preferred side, soup or salad?
Oh, it's got to be the soup. It's heartier, and more importantly, it's more fattening. And if actually anybody sees my body, you have some idea as to why that's important. I found recently that when I back up, I go beep, 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 beep. And that was rather disheartening.
Tom, what do you prefer, soup or salad?
Oh, it's got to be a salad. Being a SoCal boy all along, the summer's got to do salad. Soup is too hot.
I should have prefaced it. That was actually a trick question. The real preferred side is actually French fries, but I wanted to keep you on your toes for the 5 and 5. But definitely, I'd say that's probably the least healthy option. So we're not going to discriminate. We can't go wrong with either 3 of those, I guess. Moving on, Nikes or New Balances? Which are your shoes of choice? Tom, why don't you go ahead first?
I do sandals, my shoes of choice. For years, I had to wear,
Nice.
Get dressed up and put on a suit and do all that stuff. And now you can do remote hearings
Yeah.
with sandals. So I'm going to jump to a different one.
None of the above. I have those Skechers, which, according to my children, are very not cool. But you can put them on without bending over. And again, with that bad back, that's definitely preferable.
Now, whose side are you on? Alexander Hamilton or Aaron Burr? Tom, what do you think?
Alexander Hamilton, out of the bank, really interesting guy.
Yeah.
Grew up in deep poverty, was adopted.
And has a much better musical, let's face it.
But actually, again, fascinating. He was brilliant in business, did a lot of interesting things.
Sheer genius at the age of, if you've seen the musical, you know that he kept saying that he wanted a war so he could prove himself. The first writing that we've discovered that he performed at age 13 says exactly that he wants a war so he can prove his worth.
Good knowledge. Now, since you both did so exceptionally well on those 5 questions, we're going to give you a little bonus segment. Now, each of you have been lucky enough to see one of your favorite teams win a sports championship recently. Don, your beloved Michigan Wolverines in college football last January. Tom, recently, as much as it disheartens me to say as a Giants fan, your Dodgers hoisted the MLB championship in October. Well, I guess it's early November nowadays. Which of your beloved teams, if you could choose, would you each want to see winning a championship next?
Well, the way the Dodgers are spending, I think they're going to win. I mean, really, talk about spending a fortune. Holy cow.
Well, given that the Wolverines just recruited the number 1 choice, and the number 1 choice was a quarterback, and that's what we needed, that's looking very, very, very good. You mentioned that there was a 2024 championship. Now, remember, that came right on the heels of our 1997 championship. So
Right,
we're sort of like Kansas City.
So, Don, who won last year? Who was the national champion last year?
Was oh, how I hate Ohio State.
There
You know
you
the
go.
directions from Ann Arbor to Ohio State, correct? South till you smell it, east till you step in it.
Sorry to our Buckeye fans out there. The truth has to come out, I guess, sooner or later. Luckily, we're in California where there's probably not too many Ohio State fans, but we're pro Buckeyes as well here on the podcast. Thank you both for your honesty in the 5 and 5. We appreciate that.
Wait. We were supposed to be honest? Tom, did you get that warning?
Wide start now.
Thank you to our guests, Tom Bradford and Don Barthel, for joining us on today's episode. Please be sure to email your questions to compcorner@bradfordbarthel.com to be read aloud during a future podcast episode. Please be sure to check out Comp Corner on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you frequent your podcasts. We appreciate you liking and, of course, subscribing. Please be sure to check out our firm's next webinar on March 18th, titled Combating PD Inflation. I'll be leading the webinar where we will be discussing tactics to reduce permanent disability from the outset of a claim. Looking forward to seeing you on March 18th. Please be sure to sign up at bradfordbarthel.com. A huge thank you to Amir and Tabby for producing today's episode. See you all next time on Comp Corner.